Louder, is that better?
And your current job responsibilities?
I work with families, parents and students to help get them resources and stuff if they need to work at home on their education.
All right. Tell us a little bit about your educational background that led you to become a teacher.
I don't have any. I just took a paraprofessional test to become an instructional assistant.
And when you say instructional assistant, tell us how your role assists the teachers in the classroom.
I would help with, with the teacher, with students. I would do a lot of the communication and homework folders.
Are you in the classroom with the teacher throughout the day?
Yes, ma'am.
At Saxe-Gotha, what roles have you played in assisting teachers in the classroom?
Like how many classes? I was originally started in a kindergarten class with another teacher, and then I moved to a different position and came back with Mr. Stone as his assistant.
All right. And Mr. Stone is who we heard from just a few moments ago, having been a kindergarten teacher there at Saxe-Gotha in the school year that would have been fall 2013 through spring 2014.
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Shearer, were you working as teacher's assistant in that kindergarten classroom throughout that whole school year?
Yes, ma'am.
Tell us, Ms. Shearer, how it is that you knew Nahtahn Jones.
He was one of our students.
Take your time. Ms. Shearer, that school year started in August, ran all the way through, I think we saw the graduation photo a few moments ago, ran all the way through June.
Yes, ma'am. I would work with him over the course of the year, especially in writing is where I worked a lot with them, in math, when they would be learning and they would have to sit on the carpet in the front of the classroom. I was always on the carpet with the kids. I was always interacting.
Is it possible for you to describe to us the relationship that you developed over the course of that kindergarten year with Nahtahn that you called Ton?
He became one of my children like they all do. He was the sweetest. Always had a smile. Every day I got a hug.
What are some of your favorite memories of Ton?
His smile. He had these little gray and black shoes, and I can remember them because my youngest son had the exact same pair. And his shoelaces were never, ever tied. Usually after Christmas, teachers will stop tying them because of the germs. I just can't do it, and I still can't do it, and I will tie them. But by the end of the year, you couldn't even tie them.
What do you mean when you say that by the end of the year you couldn't tie his shoes?
His shoelaces were never replaced, and he wore the same shoes the whole school year.
What did the shoelaces look like in the end of that school year?
Bratty, that just hung out of a hole. I don't even remember if it was even the top hole.
Nothing there to tie?
No.
About Nahtahn, there's been testimony about some bruising. Who was the first person to see that bruising on Nahtahn Jones?
Me.
Can you tell us what you remember?
My desk or work area was in the back of the room, and every morning they would come and they would turn in their homework folder. And he came, and almost positive it was just him that was in the room at the time. And he walked back, and I noticed the bruising on his neck. So I had asked him what happened. And he said that his dad had grabbed him by the throat and slammed him against the wall because he broke Eli's track. And I made him repeat it again because I couldn't believe that that's what he was telling me. I instantly just ran out of the room to go get one of our counselors.
Did Nahtahn show you what happened?
Yes.
How did he show that to you?
You want me to show you? He said his dad went like this, and then slammed him against the wall.
You've seen some photographs prior to this trial, which are currently in evidence as defense exhibits. One of the four. Those photographs adequately depict what you could actually see with the naked eye?
No.
How is it? Describe to us what you saw with the naked eye.
The one mark over here was more bruised, like the blackish purple. The 3 or 4 over here were, I don't know the technical term, they look like blood vessels popped, like the red spots, and you could tell that they were fingerprints.
What was your physical reaction to him showing you this and telling you what happened?
I started shaking. I immediately wanted to cry, but I knew that I couldn't, that I had to stay strong.
What'd you do next?
Went to one of our guidance counselors and told them what he had said.
That day, that very same day, there's been testimony about what is in Defense Exhibit 15, which is a DSS report. DSS report. Let me show you that. Appendix 15, the allegations set forth here. Ms. Shearer, who made that report to DSS?
I did.
And the allegations that Nahtahn is choked, is that what you reported to DSS?
Yes, ma'am.
Were you there with Nahtahn when the DSS worker came to the school?
Yes, ma'am.
Those same allegations that are in writing, did you verbally make that DSS caseworker aware of those allegations?
Yes, ma'am, I did.
Also, that day, the parent being Timothy Jones, been notified of the DSS report. What, if any, change did you see in Nahtahn the next day?
He was withdrawn.
You observed that yourself?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you recall the DSS worker coming back to the school that next day?
Yes, I knew they came to pull him to talk to her.
What, if anything, did you personally observe about that set of circumstances?
When Nahtahn went, he didn't want to go. He just wanted to stay in the classroom.
And did you press further to find out why?
I did.
And did he tell you why?
He did.
Did he indicate that there had been any instructions given to him at home?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, that would have been May 5th, 2014. The end of the Nahtahn school year. With graduation just about a month away. What, if anything, did you observe as the teacher's assistant about the cooperation level between Timothy Jones and your classroom?
There was none. No communication whatsoever.
Is it normal for you to send papers home for the children to have signed by a parent?
Yes, ma'am.
Were any parents' signatures on Nahtahn's paperwork after that DSS report in May?
No, ma'am.
What, if anything else, do you recall about the paperwork Nahtahn returned to the school?
Maybe some of his homework was done. Probably not a lot.
Now, what kind of notebook or workbook are they given to take home?
They'll get two. They'll get one that they take home daily that has their behavior calendar in it or chart and their homework, and then there's a weekly one that goes home every Tuesday.
All right. I want to ask you a little bit about that. Who normally fills out the behavior chart?
I do.
All right. And tell us a little bit about that, how you indicate to a parent how a child's behaving in the classroom.
Usually I would put a smiley face in it if they had a good day. If they had an okay day, maybe they were talking a lot or weren't following directions, and we had to redirect them a couple times, they'd get a little smiley face. And if it was something more serious, we would write in there what exactly happened.
How, if at all, did you change your tactics regarding Nahtahn after that DSS report in May?
I always sent him home with a smiley face.
Do you remember his workbook being returned one day after that DSS report?
Yes, ma'am.
What was its condition?
It was ripped in half.
That workbook, is it something that a child can rip in half?
No, ma'am.
Did you ask him what happened to the workbook?
Yes, ma'am.
And he told you?
Yes.
Did that increase your concerns?
Yes.
Graduation. You're there with the kids on K-5 graduation day?
Yes, ma'am.
Were you there on the time?
I was.
What do you remember about that day?
He was so excited.
We saw this earlier. It's in evidence at State's Exhibit 339. His handwriting is on the wall.
It's Nahtahn than mine.
How often did he talk with you about Woody?
All the time. All the time.
What are some of your favorite memories of the time?
Smile. He always wore this I Love New York shirt, and he had said to me on numerous occasions that he wanted to go to New York.
Show you a photograph that's already in evidence. Takes 311. Recognize that T-shirt?
I do.
How often did you see Nahtahn wear that?
Probably once a week.
What did he say about wanting to go to New York?
Just wanted to go. He was excited to go to New York.
Would it show you what is states 280? 281 for identification. You recognize it?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
That's pictures of Nahtahn. 280 and 281 for identification.
No objection.
it was a small class.
Yes, it was.
A chance to develop personal relationships with the students.
Yes.
And then States 280. Is that Ms. Tanya, remember?
Yep. And he always had that smile.
The leadership notebook. States 278, already in evidence. What role do you play in helping the kids work through these?
There's some data in there that we collect in kindergarten. A lot of times they can't do it by themselves, so I would assist in helping them.
I'm going to ask you to step down if you can and tell us a little bit about Nahtahn's notebook. I'm going to start with the tab that's called Mission.
This is what his mission statement was, and he would draw a picture.
Oh, I can't hear her.
Okay. I'm going to move around, and that way you can look at the court reporter and keep your voice up.
Yeah. This is his mission statement. Okay. And you could always tell it was Nahtahn's drawings because he always had the head and then just two long legs. And his mission statement was, I want to share with my friends. And then he made another mission statement that he wanted to count to 100, and there's his picture. You could tell this was later because he could write better, and his drawings were getting a little better.
And then who keeps up with all the goals and algorithms for the children?
We would do it together.
And this is taking us through words.
Yes, there's sight words that kindergartners need to be able to memorize to help with their reading. So we would test every, first 9 weeks, second 9 weeks, third 9 weeks, and fourth 9 weeks, and we would color it in by how and when he learned those words.
And how did Nahtahn progress over that K-5 year?
Fast. He was very, very bright.
Leadership roles. These are things that he does in the classroom.
Yes.
All right. Tell us about this. What's listed here?
There's tons here. Messenger, library monitor, line leader, just all the things that all the kids like to do.
And what do you remember about his role that's listed here?
He had the greeter, so anytime we would have a visitor to the classroom, he would meet them at the door and give them a handshake and welcome to our classroom.
All right. And here we see some more leadership roles. Tell us about what you remember about Nahtahn having each of these roles, Ms. Shearer.
Water counter was very popular, especially after we were outside at recess. They would come in and they would stand at the water fountain and count to 5. So that's how long the kids had before we had to move to the next one. He also did the weatherman, where they would go to the window in the classroom and look out and tell us what the weather looked like, whether it was sunny, rainy.
So you have a window in the classroom.
Yes, ma'am, we had 2 windows.
And his job is to go and determine the weather?
Correct.
How did he embrace that role?
Loved it. He would get so excited.
And then I see one more. Whose handwriting is that?
That would be mine. He was a library helper, so when it was our library day, he would take all the books down to the library and return them at the beginning of the day. So when it was our time to go, we knew who could and who could not check out books.
And then celebrations. Nahtahn has a lot of these.
He does.
All right. I'm going to move down just a little bit away from the court reporter and have you tell us about all these different awards and celebrations that Nahtahn received in that K-5 year.
How we did it was we just made the spreadsheet list and sent home the originals. But he got awesome artist for art, computer lab leader, which was a lot. There's quite a bit on there, so he did a very good job in computer. Lead home challenge that year for our 7 habits, we would send home a paper that they would do, that they would have to discuss something that they did or felt about the 7 habits. And he had done it that month, so he got that. And then he got a good note from our music teacher.
All right. So he has 5 individual computer awards throughout the course of that K-5 year.
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Shearer, you may return. How How would you describe the change in Nahtahn that you saw from the beginning of the school year on towards the end of that school year this year?
He became a little bit more quiet. He still smiled. I don't really know that it was a genuine smile. I'd say probably about the middle of the year to the end of the year, he I don't want to say withdrawn. Things would upset him more easily.
And then by May 6, 2014, the day after that report, what did you observe about his face, his eyes? How did he appear to you that day?
Tired.
Ms. Shearer, did Nahtahn ever give you anything?
He did.
Tell me about that.
It was a Monday morning. He came in so excited because he had made me a necklace at church.
Show you what it states 285 and ask you whether or not you recognize what's depicted here.
Yes, ma'am.
No objection, Your Honor. This would be states 285 for evidence. Were you aware that Nahtahn didn't have a mom in his home?
Yes, ma'am.
How, if at all, did that affect your relationship with him?
I loved him just a little bit harder.
Where's that necklace today, Miss Shearer?
Right here.
Is it possible for you to describe the impact of Nathahn's murder on you personally?
After it happened, it was months before I didn't wake up in the middle of the night screaming from a nightmare. And to this day, I feel guilty.
Say you feel guilty. What do you mean by that?
That I saw the bruises and I made a report. And he's not here today.
Thank you, Ms. Shearer.
Sure.
Your Honor, I have three separate items I'd like to enter into evidence without objection. One are the birth certificates of the children, currently marked as States ID 344, 345, 346, 347, 348.
Birth certificate, no objection?
No objection.
No objection. Green.
Your Honor, I would also like to enter into evidence States 343, which is for ID at this point, but it's the 5 indictments on this case for murder. I believe without objection.
Objection. 343, all 5 indictments inclusive, correct?
Yes, sir.
Very well.
These indictments are 2015 GS 32-188 pertaining to Kamira Gracie Jones, 189 as to Elias Jones, 190 as to Abigail Jones, 191 as to Gabriel Jones, 195 as to Nahtahn Jones. Finally, I'd like to enter into evidence State's ID 342, which is the guilty verdict on this case for all 5 children on each and every indictment. Believe without objection.
Without objection. 342 is the verdict form from the first phase.
Yes, sir.
Without objection.
Your Honor, at this time, the State rests.
All right. I got to put some things on the record. So y'all step in the jury room. We'll be a short break. It's required. Some things I got to put on the record, and then the state's stop. So, Justice Kennedy.